Come, let us explore the 24th passage of the Great Garuda in Flight, a Dzogchen classic. Together as a team, let us relaxingly recite the 24th passage of the Great Garuda in Flight, a Dzogchen classic composed many centuries ago by Prahe Vajra. Together, the dimension of the Samantabhadra-like good is unborn and unchanging. The 12 links of causes and conditions are nothing but explanations conceived by those who are afraid for the benefit of those who are deluded. Accordingly, the wise should keep this in mind and remember it. Okay, that could seem a little vague and confusing, so let's dive deep. This depends upon an understanding of the fundamentals. So let's review the fundamentals for a few minutes. All right. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but no, not in the fun, tingly way. What could this suckiness look like? It looks like Yang's religious patriarchy. It looks like people who are conditioned to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel to such a degree that they actually denigrate those who would rather be different, who would rather be flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. You know, people who are drawn to the left instead of the right. And if that's the case, I should probably do a quick edit. So let's go over here and put this here and move this here. There we go. Now right and left are synchronized, which is silly, but it makes me happy. So the religious right and the irreligious right are the type of people who implore their students to actively focus and actively analyze, or perhaps I should say over-focus and over-analyze, to the point that it exhausts the prefrontal cortex, causing folks to begin presenting with symptoms of depression, no less triggering their amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression, which are the opposite of the peace and the love that all of us desire. Fortunately, so this is the fruit of actively competing against the two facets of our autonomic nervous system. When instead we choose to passively cooperate with them, we calm, our amygdala is calmed, and our anterior cingulate gyrus is gently stimulated. Now this region functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, which converts aversion into compassion and avarice into love. So let's take a deeper look. What if mindfulness or samadhi was simply noticing in harmony with our inhalation? For each time we feel air enter our nostrils, the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the central region, or middle third of our spinal cord, has evolved to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. And because we're noticing passively and randomly, we have dispensed with the folly of picking and choosing what to focus on. Instead, we merely notice all manner of phenomena that spontaneously pop up in our mind like a child playing guacamole at Chuck E. Cheese. Everything from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. But what do we do with that which we notice? What if meditation, I bespeak for it. I should have said mindfulness or sati. What if meditation or samadhi was simply relaxing in harmony with our exhalation? Every time we breathe in, our parasympathetic facet of our autonomic nervous system, which is divided between the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord, has evolved to help us relax to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and less defining, and figuratively feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand. So now we have the basics. I guess one more thing I should remind you. It's all well and good to say, yes, I would rather passively cooperate with my autonomic nervous system, but how can I do that? Totally simple. All we got to do is silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, each time we each time we breathe in, as well as silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease each time we breathe out. It's just that simple. And we could do this for as little as 5 minutes, once every 12 hours or so. We could do this while lying down, or briskly walking through our neighborhood, or sitting as sustainably as our health will permit. Now, we've got the basics. We've got the foundation. Now, let's look at it from a different perspective by reverting back to this morning's lesson text. The dimension of the Samantabhadra, like all good, is unborn and unchanging. Okay, what the hell does that mean? Glad you asked. Our friends on the right, who are rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, these guys have told us that some perceptions are good and others are bad, that we should ignore the ugly, the discordant, the painful, the foul, and the disgusting, and that we should only notice the beautiful, the melodious, the pleasurable, the delicious, and the fragrant. That we should only focus on pleasurable emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. But we aren't harmed by what we notice. We are harmed or benefited by what we do with what we notice. And we are already wired, thanks to the parasympathetic facet of our autonomic nervous system, to physically relax during each exhalation. not only rendering all that we perceived or experienced as inert, but turning it into a benefit, that which tames our amygdala, that which strengthens our anterior cingulate gyrus, that which helps us to be peaceful and loving. Samantbhadra could be translated as all good one. And back in the 90s, I remember hearing the phrase, it's all good. Oh, baby, it's all good. And I thought that's when it originated. I thought it was a new saying from the 90s, but no, the idea's been around forever. That it's safe to be vulnerable. That all that we can perceive and notice is not only inert, but it's good as long as we notice and relax in cooperation with our autonomic nervous system. The same autonomic nervous system that the ancients referred to as our Buddha nature. So, as I mentioned, the key is not only to notice in harmony with our in-breath, but to relax in harmony with our exhalation. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if it was as non-graspable as if it had never been born. When does this happen? Every time we notice and relax in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation. This is not like going to dealing with a slimy telephone salesman who says, here's a great deal, but this deal expires in 15 minutes. And once you're off the phone, you'll never get this deal again. Well, that's a manipulative tendency preying upon our fear of missing out, known as the takeaway. And Prahevajra is saying the opposite. This is not a one-time opportunity. As long as we're alive, as long as we have a brain and a central nervous system, as long as our heart is beating and our lungs are moving, then mindfulness and meditation are ever present. Now let us return to this morning's opening text. One moment. Okay. The 12 links of causes and conditions are nothing but explanations conceived by those who are afraid for the benefit of those who are deluded. Again, let's return to our teaching text, or I should say our practice text. Remember, we talked about some of those on the right who were superstitious and fearful. The Buddha was not unique. Every time someone wise came on the scene, who gave people philosophies and techniques to help them become as peaceful and loving as their dogs already thought they were very much like a porch light on a hot June night, which became a mecca for all sorts of moths and June bugs. And people who were drawn to power and importance, or drawn to any bright light, or drawn to any luminous figure, including Lao Tzu, including Gautama, including Yeshua. These three individuals were so luminous that the rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel were drawn to them and bit and clawed and tore their way to positions of superficial prestige and power, and then quickly changed the teachings. We saw that in the lifetime of the Buddha with his foolish cousin Devadatta. We saw that in Taoism with the rise of Ancestor Wu. We saw that in Christianity with the rise of Constantine, an emperor who changed church doctrine. So these are the people who are so controlling. They take something that was simple and easy and make it into something complex and ungainly. How complex and how ungainly? So complex and so ungainly that it stops working. And when it stops working, these rigid people don't have the intellectual integrity to second guess their assumptions, their interpretations of their actions, and just pontificate and say, oh, well, these teachings are only for special people in special places at special times, and the rest of you riffraff will have a difficult time, while it will take you a length of time greater than the amount of time it takes for the universe to form, maintain, and fade away. In fact, 3 times greater than that, and we'll give it a fancy Sanskrit name and call it kalpa. But that is not what the Buddha taught. In the second to the last passage of the discourse on the 4 bases of mindfulness, the Buddha taught that full enlightenment could be mastered in as little as a week. That full enlightenment was simply getting so good at the Eightfold Path that we practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, effectively, just like we learned how to tie our shoes or brush our teeth or ride a bike. And that the key to this Eightfold Path is simply mastering the seventh and eighth folds, which are nothing other than mindfulness and meditation. And so being taught this easy, simple, potent path is a slap in the face to the rigid, the fearful, the superstitious, the controlling, the elitist, the cryptic, the competitive, and the cruel. Who feel a deep pathological need to make things just as complex and arcane and confusing as possible. This feeds their self-importance. Let us turn to the final page of this morning's opening lesson. Accordingly, the wise should keep this in mind and remember it. What? What should the wise keep in mind? That notice the simple act of noticing and relaxing passively, vulnerably, visibly, randomly, and fleetingly in harmony with the sympathetic and parasympathetic facets of our autonomic nervous system, in harmony with the same autonomic nervous system that the ancients nicknamed our Buddha nature. That simply noticing and relaxing in this gentle, easy, passive way renders all that we experience as all good. Whether that which we have experienced is external, internal, physical, mental, pleasurable, painful, interesting, boring, glorious, or grotesque. Having completed this morning's opening lesson, it's time for us to now shift gears. It is Qui-Gon Jinn Tuesday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping, this is the Dzogchen Sende Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I could become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Let's see here. Yes, for the remainder of this morning's live stream, let's play with the latest iteration of very easy meditation practice text, or sadhana, if you're nasty. Now, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions approximately every 13 minutes or so. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class, as well as group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.